Long before the DS, the 3DS, the 2DS, the 3DS XL, 2DS XL, they had this here, the Game Boy Advance. And for the early 2000s when it came out, it was quite the system. This is the first edition before they came out with the special edition. And the one problem that it had, compared to now, is that the screen wasn't backlit, so it was quite dim. The Game Boy Advance was a cartridge system, just like the 3DS is today. Its cartridges, although small for the time, are probably a little bigger than what we're used to now. I mentioned earlier that the screen on the Game Boy Advance was pretty dim because it wasn't backlit. So remember, in those days, I wanted more than anything to be able to play my collection of games here on a big screen, like essentially on the TV, where I could see the image better. Now that brings us to this thing here, the Super Retro Advanced Adapter. This is a special adapter that allows you to play Game Boy Advance games on your Super Nintendo, and so essentially onto the TV. Now there is a way to do this even if you don't have a Super Nintendo, by making your own circuit board, and that's basically what this video is going to outline. Let's take a moment to look under the hood. I opened this adapter up, and there's a couple of chips I want to draw your attention to. These two up here, this and this, are serial to parallel converters, and what happens here is the joystick data would normally get read by the Super Nintendo and piped into the serial parallel converters by serial means. So if we make a PCB over here, maybe with a microcontroller or something like that, connect it to some Super Nintendo joysticks, it could read it and then send the information into these things in such a way for everything to make sense, I guess. So anyway, I got my package from DHL.
Wait,
this one should be the circuit board.
I thought the circuit boards were in that one.
No. I ordered them from PCB Way. They're a Chinese company in China. So the boards are blue. It's the first time I got blue boards.
So these are the boards.
I don't know if the camera's going to show this, but nice shiny boards. And again, typically they're green, but these ones I got done in blue. Okay, so this is the component side, the main side. I'm going to turn it over.
Yeah.
So this is the reverse side here, and this is where the microcontroller board will be. So I'm opening up my second package. This one comes from Quebec, and it appears to be my connectors. These connectors are compatible with the original Super Nintendo joypad connectors. Now it's the moment of truth to see if I got the footprint right. And I don't know. And I might have to grind these pins down.
That's not good.
Okay. So, I just finished installing most of the components on the board. These here are hex inverters. I'm just using them as a buffer. I've got a reset switch and an on-off switch. And then if I turn it over, this is the Teensy microcontroller. It's going to read the values of the joypad and then broadcast it to this little connector here, and that's where I'm going to put the Game Boy Advance adapter. Okay, so now I have the Teensy board plugged into USB. That's how it gets its power. And then right now I'm going to start off with a simple test, testing the power switch. And if the LED comes on, we'll know it's successful. So yeah, so far so good. And this is what it looks like when the super advanced retroport adapter is mated onto the board. It's almost a good color match between each of the circuit boards. Okay, so I configured some code into the Arduino. Something is happening with the power switch for some reason. It's always on. So anyway, I'm going to apply power by connecting this USB cable to a USB port on my computer. And let's watch the TV and see what happens. So right now it's going on, off, on, off, on, off. Not exactly sure. Okay, so that's something I might have to look into. Also, I want to see what happens if we reset. So I don't know, it's kind of cool that we at least get some display. There's a few kinks that we have to work out. And I also want to point out that I don't have the joypad connected yet though. So I think this is good for a night. You'll remember earlier that I had a fit problem with the connectors used for the joypad controllers. I've zoomed up here, and this is the pins, and this is what Daniel so generously donated his time for. He filed these things. It took him probably I think almost 2 hours or so in order to get them down, and they do actually fit. Well, I have the connector installed now. Everyone knows what this is for.
Okay, we are now, we got the SNES controller right there,
Right over here. And I changed the code a bit to theoretically read this and then transmit it to the Game Boy Advance. So now this is the moment of truth. I haven't tested this yet. I want to test this joystick, so I'm going to press down. And, oh, something happened though. I pressed up and something happened. So I think the buttons are all scrambled. So it's like it's understanding something. Wait, so when I press Y, it's going down. When I press B, it's going up. So I'm happy this works, but there's some miscommunication between this and this. Like something's lost in translation. I'm sure I can fix this, but it's a little baffling now. Okay, so for some reason, the right-hand button is like my jump button. And then, okay, so I'm jumping, even though I'm pressing the wrong button. Okay, that does something. So this is really interesting. Select as duck. Okay, so my start button walks to the right. But anyway, yeah, so this is great, but by no means working perfectly yet. Well, it's the moment of truth. I think I have the joystick controls all sorted out. So yeah, I'm going to try to play Donkey Kong Country 2, a Game Boy Advance game, the cartridge and all, on my television. So I think I'm supposed to press start. Okay, so I can jump. Ooh. I can die. So I can pick up the barrel. Unfortunately, I don't really know how to play this level. So yeah, I apologize for sucking terribly at this game, and maybe the camera on my phone isn't picking this up, but it actually looks pretty good. It's a little pixely. So just briefly here, I'm showing you the Rayman game again, and it looks really nice on the television set. And here, this is the final video I'm going to show you guys. This is one of the Crash Bandicoot games. It looks kind of nice too. A little on the pixely side, but yeah, the Game Boy Advance wasn't known like for its crystal clear resolution. Anyway, I guess that's it for this video. Join me again when I do my next project, which will be, who knows? We'll have to find out.